Hello, YouTube. It's your girl Denise, and I'm back with Baddies East episode 9 and 10. And of course, I will have the timestamps in the description if you guys just want to skip ahead. Feel free, it is there for your convenience. But I'm just going to get right into episode 9, and we start off with the famous kick. Now, I did not know that Rollie's ankles were this small, nor that she could kick that high. So this tells me that this girl is very mobile, she's very flexible, and she should have just not had her BBL surgery until she lost some weight because clearly she's capable of doing so. And she kicked Biggie right in the middle of the titties. It almost looks like she also touches Biggie's chin a little bit. Now, Rollie, you are 100% wrong for this kick. But obviously she learned it from DJ Sky and Scotty because she's been kicked a handful of times from both of them. But I don't think this is a fighting tactic that you want to learn, Rollie. You guys know I always say when somebody kicks you, just grab their feet and just flip them over. But it's just clear that Biggie wasn't expecting this kick. I don't think any of us was expecting this kick. But Biggie is okay. She ate it. She's fine. And now I have to get on Sky and Mariah. I didn't really want to do this to Sky, but since everybody now wants to claim to be half Puerto Rican, but don't like when people speak Spanish around them, of course I have to call it out. But this is just typical. Like, if you guys live in New York City, you just know Puerto Ricans don't really speak a word of Spanish. And that's no shade to Puerto Ricans, but being that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, I feel like Puerto Ricans do have more of a need than other Hispanic countries to kind of Americanize themselves. And I've noticed for the Puerto Ricans that live here, their parents and even sometimes their grandparents speak English. So there's really no need for them to learn Spanish. And that's fine. That's not really what I'm trying to criticize. I just don't like that you're coming for people that do speak Spanish and you don't like it when they're speaking it around you. But yet you still claim you're half Puerto Rican, you're a quarter Puerto Rican. Like, come on. So now Biggie keeps asking Rollie what the issue she has with her is. And according to Rollie, there's a recording of Biggie saying that she's gonna fight Rollie every day. And I feel like usually when there are receipts, Zeus shows them to us, especially if it's in the favor of one of their network favorites like Rollie. And just knowing how delusional Rollie can be sometimes, she could have just made it up in her head, because then Rollie resorts to just mocking Biggie, which of course you have to do when you know that you're losing an argument. Now, thankfully, T walks in and disrupts everything because I really just did not want this to drag on. I just love how tesehki runs up to T and gives her a hug while everybody else is just hating in the back. And I love tesehki. I feel like she gets a lot of criticism for like being boring. After she fought, she hasn't had another moment. But like, we need someone to be friendly and positive, and she's the only one like giving love and giving hugs. So I can at least appreciate tesehki for that. But now we have to talk about the famous bite. There's two things I don't understand about this bite. Now, I do believe that Rollie did it 100%, but what I'm so confused about is the fact that you only see the top row of teeth. So how was pressure applied to this bite to leave the marks when you don't see the bottom row of teeth? And my second issue is that the bite is kind of like arching inwards towards Biggie's body, which totally matches up to if you were to bite yourself. So if Rollie bit Biggie, it would have to been in a moment where Rollie was slanted at an angle where she was perpendicular to Biggie in order to bite her inwards to her body. And I just hate how the editors replayed and slow mode the shit out of the kick, but they did not give us the moment where Rollie bit Biggie. So we could finally settle this debate. I can't believe it's even a debate, because why would Biggie bite herself? And of course, I also had to go back to episode 8 and try to slow down the fight and rewatch it. But number one, it was just so heavily edited and cut up. And number two, there's just too many bodies. There's too many security guards, and they're all pretty much, you know, a little bit overweight. Plus, add in the fact that we can't even see over Rollie's shoulders. But it seems like Biggie is underneath Rollie at this point, and security looks like they're grabbing at Biggie's arm. So if I had to guess, this was around the moment where Rollie bit Biggie, sometime around the second round where Biggie was backed up against the wall and in the corner. So now that T is back, the whole house is just in chaos. And I really hate this scene because there's just too much people talking all at once. There's too much going on. There's too many people sneaking around. I feel like production really could have controlled the girls to handle their beefs one at a time. We first get Scotty try to fight T. She tells Scotty, "Why are you staring at me?" And I think that T didn't pay Scotty any mind because this doesn't go anywhere. And then of course we have Scarface, I almost forgot her name, just being the nobody that she is. She's pressed by T coming in with positive energy this time because you said last time that she had an attitude. So now she's giving you what you want and you don't want it. It was pretty obvious that Scarface was getting ready to fight because she started to tie her hair up. And T obviously peeped this too because she did not take her eyes off of Scarface at all. So when Scarface was sneaking up, she wasn't really sneaking up. T already kind of peeped that she was doing that. So T was ready for Scarface, and again, Scarface did practically no damage. I know like there's a cut on her upper lip, but I wouldn't necessarily call that a win. So yeah, I gave this girl 3 episodes to change my mind and make me like her. She failed again. I also think she's ugly, honestly. I'm sorry, but there's just like she just has so much stuff going on with her face. Like she has a scar here, pimple here, pimple here, pimple there. The name Scarface is basically becoming more fitting to your actual face. And then after her fight, she's just asking who else wants to fight with her. And it's just like, if you want to fight somebody specifically, then go fight that person. You've been said that you wanted to fight tesehki. We have yet to see you even stand next to the girl. So I don't really want to hear like this fake toughness. No, I just can't believe that she was supposedly a fan favorite and that everybody wanted her on the show when she is just the worst cast member, in my opinion. I don't see what you guys see in her, so maybe you can enlighten me. I don't know. I highly doubt that. But just fighting all the time is not gonna cut it. You also have to bring personality, which she doesn't have. She's not funny. She's not cute. She's not even fashionable or stylish. Like, I just don't know what you guys saw in this girl. So after all the fighting, basically Natalie says that she's gonna have to take her girls and move on to a second house, which is stupid. We're getting separation again when I feel like the whole point of the show is watching the baddies be baddies together. But that also works in my favor because I'm just tired of seeing Scotty and Scarface and Mariah on my screen. So I am complaining, but I'm not complaining, you know? So the girls in house B, they stay behind in the living room and they catch up with one another. And this soundbite right here is basically why I say Biggie is not a replacement and that she was really on call, because when she walked in, she wasn't meeting anyone for the first time. They already knew her. You get what I'm saying? Like, they didn't, not just knowing about her, but they already knew Biggie. There was nobody saying, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. My name is this, da da da." Everybody already knew Biggie, and Biggie already knew everybody in that house. My second point is that clearly Natalie or production has been calling Biggie and keeping her up to date with what's been happening. Because here Biggie says when she got the call, she said, "Oh shit, something must be going on." So you can try to keep acting like Biggie wasn't a part of the cast, but you guys already know here on this channel, I broke it down. Saya kind of gave it away that Biggie was there the whole time, and the editors can't play in our faces in this channel over here. So after the girls finish their conversation and leave, tesehki stays behind, just being the friendly girl that she is. She tells Biggie that she wants to roll up with her because Biggie came in with that good energy, and she says that Biggie is misunderstood, which I don't think that Biggie is misunderstood. I feel like it's popular amongst the cast to make fun of this girl. I think it's pretty clear from the way that these girls react to each episode on social media when they come out and respond to the backlash that they get in the comments, that these girls stay reading the comments. So I just feel like because Biggie was getting so much hate from the audience last season, that they're still kind of like riding that Biggie hate wave. So they basically think it's okay to not like this girl, or to try to find any little reason to not like this girl and to make fun of her. So during their car ride, Group A spent their time talking about T. And then when they get to their house, they're still talking about T. And I'm just like, imagine being pressed by T so bad that you can't even just take a second to enjoy the house around you, which is gorgeous, by the way. Like, we didn't even get a house tour. They're just talking about T so much. And then Scarface is going to say that T has some deep-rooted issue when, how could you say that about somebody when you are the one that keeps trying to fight them? It's just projection at its finest, and I just feel like Scarface, you can tell she's very insecure. And then just to see how happy she gets, how much her face lights up whenever she talks about fighting. Like, she's just very weird. Not even tesehki does this, even though she knows what she's capable of doing. Tesehki still has more discipline when it comes to fighting. Like, she's not going to start a fight with somebody. She's going to wait for somebody to fight with her first. And then tesehki doesn't spend her time reminiscing on how she beat up somebody. She would just rather be friendly with girls that she thinks are cool. But it's like you can't say the same about Scarface. Like, clearly she takes pride in fighting, and that's cool, but it just seems like she thinks that that is all that she's good for. But she hasn't even done like her big one yet, so I don't know what she's so prideful about. Like, she looks stupid. Next, we get an editing sequence of the girls getting ready, which I kind of liked. It's definitely a change of pace because I feel like at this point the editing over there at Zeus is very formulaic, is very predictive. So it was nice to see the girls get ready and look beautiful. I could have done without the close-ups of the pimples on Scarface and Broly. That's like the only place that they close up on those two girls. And another thing that I would have thought would have made this scene better is if they have played some of the girls' songs, like the way that they shove Jocelyn's songs down our throats. So yeah, just a couple suggestions moving forward. Next, the girls are on their way to the club. On the group A bus, Natalie says that the bus has a smell. Now, is it the bus or is it one of the girls? Like, if it's really Rollie that smells, I don't know how you guys could just not try to help her as your friend. And everywhere you go with her, you're just sitting there just smelling her stink. But it could just also be the bus, because apparently there's also bugs crawling all over Mariah too. So I just don't see how you have a budget for a private plane, but can't clean a bus. And then in Group B, Anna Mac is just complaining about Biggie because first she says she's too annoying. Second, she says she's too cocky. Like, Anna, just say you don't know why you don't like Biggie, but you want to. You just want to hate her for no reason. Like, I understand if you feel like Biggie is obnoxious and loud. That's just how Dominicans are. But you, as an alleged half Dominican, you should already know that. You should have family members that act just like Biggie. So you should be used to it. I just think at this point that there has to be a gag, like a running gag in the house, that Biggie is the one to pick on or the one to make fun of. And Anna Mac is just being a follower. So the girls finally get to the club. And you guys came so hard at Scarface for her outfit. She tried so hard to give Barbie and she just failed. I think Natalie actually does give Barbie, but Natalie shouldn't have let Scarface walk out the house looking like that. And then her clothes are just so tight for her. Like, it just looks like she's wearing kids' clothing, or maybe she borrowed the shirt from Mariah. And then the skirt kind of looks like the skirts that Scotty has been wearing. So maybe Scotty let her borrow that skirt, but I just don't see these clothes belonging to Scarface. Bobby Shmurda is also there, and the whole time he just literally had a smile on his face. That man was just there to have a good time, perform, and do his job. And then Kat from last season was also there, and they finally show her, because remember last episode, she was at the club that they were at, but they just blurred her face. I'm happy that the editors chose to show her this time around because Kat just looks so good, and I love her with this red hair. Natalie goes around the girls one by one and introduces them, and I just love how Bobby turns to each girl that she calls and smiles at them. But then Natalie is gonna call tesehki Takashi, which was just an obvious spit in her face. Like, you know that girl's name already. You said it already on the show. And Takashi is a whole completely different rapper. Like, you already know, like, you know what you're doing. I just hate when Natalie gets to acting stupid. So that's the end of episode 9. Moving on to episode 10, we are back with Group A. And I just thought it was kind of shady that Mariah Lynn made everybody tea, but except Scotty. Scarface also lets us know that she spoke to T at the club last night. She said that she told T that she's gonna leave her alone and that she hopes that T doesn't want any more problems. Now, if I was T, I don't know what I would do to this girl because it's the audacity for me. Like, I just don't even want to talk about this girl anymore. Like, everything she says and does just irritates me now. And then Mariah starts talking about how she wants to get her chain back from Smiley. Now, obviously, when Natalie gets Group A together, this is the pre-meeting before the actual meeting where they plan out their fights that they're gonna have. So according to Mariah, tesehki's glam team has seen Mariah Lynn's chain in the room that she shares with Smiley. And I think that this whole time Mariah Lynn thought that Smiley had melted down her chain to make a ring for her son. Because I felt like Mariah would have at least tried to make an effort to get tesehki to get her chain, had she known the chain was there the whole time. Mariah also says that Smiley is lying about her miscarriage because she put a tampon in. So really her bleeding is just her period. And I already told you guys how I feel about the whole Smiley miscarriage situation. I think Smiley did go to the hospital for something serious, but I don't think that she had a miscarriage because it really was the IV drip that she was connected to in the hospital that kind of sold it for me. I don't think you need an IV drip when you have a miscarriage. I don't really know. I've never had a miscarriage. I feel like if she did have a miscarriage and she was losing a lot of blood, she would have been hooked up to a blood transfusion instead. And now she's putting on tampons while she's bleeding a lot. Where are my ladies here? I'm just saying, if you're really bleeding a lot, I don't think a tampon is the way to go because tampons don't really soak up as much blood as a pad does. So you would have to keep constantly changing your tampon. Plus, doctors don't really recommend that you wear a tampon after you have a miscarriage. You're really not supposed to put anything up your vagina after you miscarriage. So we'll get more on Smiley and her miscarriage later when the girls confront her about it later in the episode. But for now, we have Biggie and Ahna at the hospital, and they're not really getting along. They're talking to the receptionist at the hospital, and I think Biggie is getting irritated with Ahna because here we get Ahna saying that she doesn't want a super long procedure. She just wants something quick so that she could get it over with and she could go home. And this irritates Biggie because Biggie feels like Ahna is rushing the hospital staff, which if you're going in the hospital for a broken finger, like you're going to be there for quite some time. Like, this is not a quick checkup where you draw some blood and then you get to go home. And y'all saw how when they got there, it was still daytime. And when Biggie leaves, it's nighttime. So I definitely believe that Biggie was telling production to get a car for Ahna because Ahna was going to be there all day otherwise. And I wish we would have gotten the car ride to the hospital and the blanket slapping scene because it just would have been hilarious. I do believe Biggie was in the car asking Ahna to roll up her blunt for her because we saw Biggie come out full brace on her arm. So you could just tell like she was probably in a lot of pain and couldn't like grind up her own weed or whatever. Next we have T, Sky, and Camilla hanging out at the park. And honestly, these are the best looking girls in the show right here in this scene. Plus tesehki. We get T talking about how she thinks Scarface has a crush on her, which I don't know about the whole crush thing, but I do think that you have the looks, the fame, the career, the talent that Scarface wishes she had. So maybe she feels like if she could be next to you or if she can touch you, that somehow that would rub off on her. Like, I feel like Scarface just wants to be T and she wants the connections that T has in the industry. Because after the show is done, T is going to go back to her business and keep booking her shows, keep booking her movies, keep booking her modeling gigs. But Scarface is going to go back home after the show to what? And I also feel like Scarface just has this jail mentality where, you know, when you get locked up, they always tell you go to the biggest person and beat them up to show that you're tough. So maybe Scarface felt like if she could beat you up, she could get your clout. That's just what I think because it really shows that Scarface doesn't have anything like financially, but also anything going for her. She doesn't even have personality or talent. So how else would Scarface possibly get the attention or the clap that she feels like she wants? Next, we have Suki and Sapphire meeting up with Natalie. And as the girls are walking up to the house, Suki says, what kind of coochie do you have to live in this type of estate? And if you haven't been on the Baddies subreddit lately, I highly recommend that you do because it's just getting so crazy over there. So allegedly, it's not about Natalie being the one with the good coochie. It's about her allegedly pimping out the good coochie. So that's how she got this large estate, but she's still flying commercial airlines, you know. But anyways, I'm gonna stop being messy. Natalie is now catching them up on what has happened so far. On the Biggie and Rollie situation, I don't think Zeus has the Bigo receipts because they would have showed it if they did. And Suki's not really invested in this beef because it's just two big girls just arguing about who's bigger. And why does Natalie have to over exaggerate the kick? Like, Rollie did not really do that much damage to Biggie, besides biting her. And then Natalie wants to reenact how T walked in, and she's calling T weird, but Natalie is way too excited to do this reenactment of T. And I don't think that Natalie likes T in real life, because if you have known T longer and have flown on private jets with her, it just doesn't make sense why you're hyping up Scarface as much as you are when you don't know her prior to this. And then the Smiley issue, which I think is the only real issue here. I don't think anybody really cares that she lied about her miscarriage. Like, yes, she's a weirdo and she's a compulsive liar, but all you have to do is just ignore her. Like, that doesn't really affect anyone in any way. But Suki does let us know that Smiley somehow got her number and texted her after she took Mariah's chain, thinking that her and Mariah were friends. So the stalking and the cloud chasing is the real problem here. And I'm so happy that they have this house meeting and that they finally get to address Smiley about the situation. So at the house meeting, Rollie first denies biting Biggie, which I think it's pretty obvious that she did it, because each time she talks about the bite, she's smiling and she's laughing. But she's definitely denying it because biting somebody during a fight is weird. Natalie has been bitten by somebody during a fight, so you would have thought that Natalie would have checked Rollie on the bite had Rollie come out and say that she did bite Biggie. And I think the biggest telltale sign of all that she's lying is that she's promising it on her son, on her life, on God. And it's just like, if you have to try so hard to convince me that you're telling the truth, you're not telling the truth. And this is just on brand of Rollie's character. She lies about a lot of stuff. She does this every season. Now, I still am a Rollie fan, but it's just really scary how she's just able to, like, lie to herself and lie to everybody, and she does it so easily. But at this point, Biggie walks in and she gets a big hug from Tesehki. I just love to see it, and I just wish that Biggie got there in time for when Ahna started telling her story about what happened in the hospital, because I don't like that Ahna gets to only tell her side and exaggerate the story. But obviously, to take the heat off of herself, really has to bring the attention towards Smiley and ask her why she is lying about her miscarriage. And Smiley is acting all confused. She makes this face, which is the second telltale sign that somebody is lying to you, because they won't know what you're talking about, or they'll act like they didn't hear what you said. When, generally speaking, like, if you confront somebody about something that they did not do or something that they are not lying about, their response is typically anger. They're mad that you're accusing them of something that they didn't do. And I'm not a psychologist or an expert in human behavior, but I'm just talking based on my experiences. But I think it is important to note that while I don't believe Smiley and the girls don't believe Smiley, nobody has brought forward receipts, physical receipts. So it's really up in the air still. But Smiley does get a chance to tell her side of the story, and she started her story off by saying, "So supposedly, I started throwing up, gotten sick, or whatever." And that whole sentence right there is just an interesting choice of words. You begin your sentence with "so supposedly," which, when people use the word supposedly, they're using it when they're talking about something that they don't believe has happened. Like, for example, supposedly she melted down the chain to make a ring for her son. Now, Smiley also contradicts herself when she says that she doesn't have discharge papers, but they're also in the truck. Both things cannot be true at the same time. I also have an issue with Smiley saying that she left the hospital and the hospital called her back to get her pills, because at that point the hospital wouldn't call you back, they would just send it to your pharmacy. And my last issue with Smiley is that she says that it was her friend Red Rose that texted Suki off of Smiley's phone, because wouldn't your friend just text you Suki's number? Why would she have to physically touch your phone and text Suki and start some drama between you and this person that you don't know? Because that's not a good friend. And then Sukiana doesn't even know who Red Rose is, which I feel like it is possible that Sukiana just doesn't know the name Red Rose, because there's so many reds and so many roses as people's names. And Sukiana is starting to raise her voice and she's starting to get angry. But we have seen Sukiana go live with the girl who Smiley claims is Red Rose. And even Red Rose is denying to ever giving Smiley Sukiana's number. So clearly somebody's lying here. And clearly everybody thought that Sukiana was about to pop off, because you could see my man Chris in the background walking down the stairs. Sapphire also has to get up and try to get in between Smiley and Suki. But if you notice, in the moment where Sapphire presses Smiley about melting down Mariah Lynn's chain to make a ring for her son, because Smiley originally said that she did, and now Smiley is saying that she didn't, that is when Rollie gets mad and throws the water at Smiley. Because one thing that Rollie doesn't like is liars, even though she herself is one of the biggest liars. That's when Mariah sees her opportunity and then punches Smiley in the face. And you can catch a glimpse of Suki trying to pull Smiley's wig, but security had snatched her up before she could do so. I believe it's in Sukihana's contract to not fight or to not get hit by another cast member. If you recall back to the trailer, the very first clip that we get in the trailer, that is what Rollie says. But anyways, Mariah and Smiley start wrestling over this chain, but Mariah couldn't pull the chain off of Smiley's neck. And this is when Smiley walks off to the kitchen area and starts like rubbing herself as if she's in pain, which I didn't understand because when Rollie threw the drink at her, she was ready to square up with Rollie. But now that she got in a fight with Mariah, she wants to claim that she just had a miscarriage. She's still bleeding. She's still in pain. So Smiley was definitely down to fight Rollie, taking off her sweater and everything. And I was gonna say that ain't no way that you're in pain from Mariah hitting you, because there's no way that Mariah could do damage. But I take it back, because then when they were in the kitchen, Smiley got a bloody nose. So I don't know, because Mariah Lynn's hits don't look like they hurt, but she somehow made Smiley nose bleed, which is more damage than Scarface ever did to T. But I just have to admit that Suki instigated this whole thing, because she had to push Mariah, literally push Mariah into Smiley for Mariah to fight. And we could have a whole debate on whether or not it was Sukihana and Sapphire's place to try to fight Smiley and get Mariah's chain back for her on the next episode when I review episode 11. So I will be recording episode 11 next. Please subscribe to get notified when that comes out. And as always, take care until next time. Bye.